So in this video, I want to talk about the relationship between Fitz, or known as Sylphiette. I'm just going to refer to Fitz for easeability, and the relationship between Ariel and why Fitz still trusts Ariel when Ariel clearly wasn't capable of helping her find her friends and family, while Fitz still decided to stick by. And this is something that I've seen in my comment section, I've seen around on Twitter, I've seen it around on different places being discussed about, so I figured I would make a video discussing about it, because I think people don't realize that Fitz is not as capable in some situations than what Rudy is. Rudy has a little bit more street smarts because of his past life, he has those knowledge, but also when he was displaced, he also had Eris, and Eris is very capable with the sword. As much as she's hot-headed, she's got some lack in social skills, she's definitely got a couple of brain cells short of some of those skills that she needed to survive. She was still capable of defending herself as long as she kind of followed Rudy's sort of lead. Rudy would lead the way, use his street smarts that he knew from his past life and also the current life, and help them get through. But you've also got to remember, Rudy also had a bodyguard, a super named Rigid. He could take out an entire town. That's quite literally his ability. He is the superpower. So if Rudy was in desperate need of help, he could fall back to it. Now, of course, you never know if Rigid's going to snap and go cray-cray, but Rudy did have that to fall back on. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. It has its strengths and it has its weaknesses. Rudy had a lot more ability to adapt to being out in the wild of normal people and what's going on in the back alleys and all that. Even though there are situations where Rudy got into some pretty dire bad stuff, Fitz did not have that. Fitz was very much thrown in a situation where they were falling from the sky, they defeated the big boar, and then they were sort of in the trust of Ariel, and Ariel kind of adopted them as a bodyguard. But at the end of the day, yes, Fitz could have decided, okay, I'm leaving to go find my friends and family, but where do you start? Where do you go from? Fitz didn't really have any objectives or know where to go. He'd be completely blind. Rudy had an objective. Get Eris back home. That was his objective. He had a clear objective. Then once he got Eris back home, he then has his next objective, which is find his mother. So he then decides, and he's got the knowledge to go, hey, I used to be, he is an adventurer, he's got that knowledge, he's got those skills, he's got that tool set right there, so he's able to use that as a possibility to fall back on. But with Fitz doesn't have any of that. Fitz has nothing. Rudy has stuff to fall back to, knowledge, skills, etc., and networking. Fitz does not. Fitz is completely in the dark on that. So if Fitz was to decide to, as sort of a what-if scenario, to leave Ariel, it's a bit more challenging. Now, that doesn't mean that Fitz can't do stuff while Ariel's doing her own political stuff. Fitz is more than capable of using some of those skills and knowledge to her advantage, and she could possibly still ask Ariel for some assistance, even though Ariel's not really that capable. And again, I'm trying to not spoil anything here, but there is some stuff that they could fall back to. Ariel's just not able to just pull massive political strings though, because of the fact that stuff's going on at her home in that political space, and there's a tug of war going on. Ariel is preoccupied. And I think Fitz very well knew that, but was kind of wishful thinking. And I think at the same time as well, Fitz needs someone to latch onto and feel like that they have someone still to rely on to some degree and have some form of protection. Because at the end of the day, if Fitz messes up, Ariel will still be there to help her, because it's I scratch your back, you scratch my back. So they both can help each other through difficult situations. Right now, that's all Fitz has. Fitz needs someone to help protect them, and then finding friends and family is sort of a secondary thing. It's survival first, finding friends and family second. Fitz needs to prioritize those. Yes, Ariel can be very manipulative. She can be quite, I wouldn't say difficult, but just very, as I said, manipulative, uses the tools necessary to get what she wants, but she's not a malicious person. She's not going to cast Ariel aside the moment there's no use for that. I don't see that as something Ariel would do, and it's clearly demonstrated in the first episode that there is clearly a bond between them. But you've got to understand that Fitz or Sylphiette does not have the kind of skills that Rudy has, that Rudy has developed in his past life, and also developed when he was also teaching Eris. And he also still has Eris and, of course, Rigid by his side. So as the journey goes on for Rudy, yes, there are some difficult situations that he had to overcome. Not very easy, but Rudy also didn't really have a choice to fall back on either. If Rudy had that choice of falling back on someone like Ariel, would have he done that? I mean, he even got into a fight with Paul because Paul saw him as taking it too easy, because Paul expected even more from him because of his gifts. I don't think Fitz's family would have done the same, or Sylphiette's family would have done the same to her. And you also got to realize, because also Sylphiette or Fitz is a female, becomes a bit more of a target. And that's one of the other things that, yeah, Silent Fitz pretends to be a male to kind of, one, help Ariel, but also protect their own identity as well. So it's just one of those that I do understand why some people would be asking that question, but I think you've also got to look at the bigger scope as well of the situation that Fitz is in, and why Fitz can't just easily throw themselves out into the wide world and go looking for the friends and family. I mean, where would she go? She doesn't really have a vast knowledge of the world out there, and maybe some of the bedtime stories that she got read from her family maybe could have helped, but there is still a lot of lacking knowledge that I think she would have had. Maybe she could have gone to Ariel and said, hey Ariel, can you give me some guidance on where I should go, what I should do? And maybe Ariel would then assist and say, okay, try this area, try doing this. But would have Ariel suggested of, well, why don't you become an adventurer, Fitz, and use that as a way of networking, and use that networking to try and help find your family? Because of course there'd be adventurers going out there doing jobs to go find people. That's one of the first things that Paul and other adventurers do. They instantly put out a notice board going, hey, reward, find my family, and adventurers would go looking for that opportunity of making a quick dollar, but also trying to help and assist those find missing friends and family. That's one way. But you also got to realize that Fitz probably also kind of figured as much, and even if Ariel said, yeah, your family's most likely dead, maybe Fitz might have had a little bit of hope at the back of their mind, but I think Fitz probably knew, based on probably some of the information going around of just how bad the situation was, that the likelihood of her family surviving, being that they didn't even have the skills that Rudy or her had, were very minimal. I mean, you got to realize that Paul, you can say, well, why did Paul say? He's a good adventurer. He's got a lot of experience, a lot of skills. So people like that, like her, Rudy, and Paul, have got a lot of skills under their belt that can help defend themselves, but still Fitz is limited in what she is capable of. So it's kind of like, don't throw her into the boots of, say, like Paul or Rudy, who are quite exceptional at their areas. So I hope that gives a little bit of context to what my thoughts are on that situation. I'd love to know your thoughts, but I think a lot of people kind of are in that same mindset as well. I understand some people feel like it's a sort of a BS excuse of because we're friends kind of thing, but I think you got to realize that mentally Fitz is probably looking for someone to fall back on and rely on. So again, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you like this video, hit the like, subscribe, and I'll see you beautiful nerds in the next video.